Hi, Minesh Baxi here, and I'm so excited that we have a guest here, Andrea Fleischfresser, and I'm excited because you have an interesting background.
Thank
You are
you.
from Brazil, Italy, and now US, so I'm looking forward to learning more about you, and I'm sure the viewers will learn a little bit about you as well. So, Andrea, tell me, where were you born?
Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm born and raised in Brazil, from the south of Brazil. So, as you probably know, in Brazil, like United States, there's a lot of people from all over Europe to came to Brazil. Sorry, with the years. So, my last name, is most people can see, are originally from Germany, but I'm totally Brazilian.
Wow, so your family originally came from Germany, but they
Yeah.
settled in Brazil.
Yeah.
And so pretty much most of the culture you know from your childhood was Brazilian culture.
Exactly.
So did you learn German at all?
No, I don't know German. Sometimes I receive even messages on LinkedIn or emails in German because people think that I'm German. But no, I don't speak German. I speak English, Italian, and Portuguese.
Yeah, and I think people obviously confuse sometimes between Spanish and Portuguese, but that
Yeah.
happens. And I spent quite a bit of time in Florida during the winter, and there are so many Brazilian
Oh,
steakhouses
yes.
and
Oh,
Brazilian
yeah.
people there, and that's where I learned the term obrigado, right?
Correct. Good job.
Well, so tell us then, from Brazil you went to Italy.
Italy, correct. So I got married. I met my husband in Brazil. He was working there, and I moved.
So he was not born in Brazil.
No, he is 100% Italian, and he was just working for his. He was there for 3 years, and we got married, and I moved to Italy. This was in 2000. So I built my life there. My kids were born there. And in Italy, I used to work in human resource in organization. And all my life was settled in Milan, Italy.
The fashion capital of the world, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. Very busy city, but very fashion and so many things going
Modern.
on there. Exactly. Modern. And life changed again when 8 years ago, in 2012, my husband told me that the company asked him to move here to United States. Of course, in the beginning, the first reaction was no, but we came, and it's been a great experience for all of us.
How different is it from Italy, knowing what you know now about being here in US?
We actually don't know a country or a culture when we are not really into that place. And this is why one of the reasons that I do what I do now with my work, that I'm sure we'll talk
talk
more
about it.
more about that. But when we are from outside, everything looks like
Different.
different. Yes, it's a different perspective.
I know,
for
because I
sure.
came from a different country, right?
Yeah.
And I came from India, where we speak English, but the American accent was hard for me. And there are so many expressions in American English which are not very common in other world where they speak English, but it's not the same expression.
Exactly.
And I read a lot of American books as well. And it was interesting that, in fact, one of the book crime stuff which I used to read was James Hadley Chase. And James Hadley Chase was actually a British guy who wrote as if it is in US, and he was not from US at all.
Oh,
but he
really?
just learned so much about US. He just wrote books which were centered around the bad guys in US, which was interesting to me. Knowing I didn't know that at that time. But the point is, people have an impression about the country, and then you actually have an experience of the country, and those are not always the same things.
Exactly.
And you have an impression about the people, and you see that the impression is not the same as the experience of people. Now, obviously, there are cultural differences, which we'll now get into in the conversation, which people should be aware of before they go to a different country or they connect with somebody who is not from the same culture. So tell me a little bit about this, because your focus is cross-cultural training.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about your career development as you came into US.
Yes, thank you. So as I mentioned, in Italy, I was worked in HR in organization. And after I moved here, I was kind of feeling like thinking about what would be my next step. And I discovered coaching because I work with a coach for myself in this finding my next step. And when I started working as a coach and having clients, my first ones, the people that came for me because of my network and background was people from different cultures. So since the beginning, my clients are French, American, for sure, Brazilian, Italian, but from so many Germans and so many people around the world. And it was fascinating for me seeing how we have so many things in common, because in our global world with social media and technology, so many things, we have so many things in common, but inside of us, there's many things are different. And I noticed that most of the time misunderstandings or miscommunications happen because we don't understand the other side of the other person. So after a few years coaching, doing leadership coaching and career coaching, I started working as a cross-cultural trainer and cross-cultural coach, and this became became very passionate about this topic because, as you know, nowadays we don't actually need to live or move abroad in order to be in contact with people from other cultures. Someone could be here from Michigan, work in Michigan, and probably you have a boss or a colleague or maybe your neighbor or a friend from so many different cultures. And there are small little details in our everyday life that make a big difference in how we build relationships, build business, trust, and communicate with someone from another culture.
Very interesting. And I know that Barbara was on the show as well.
Yeah.
You remember Barbara Bolt? And
Yes.
she teaches non-native English speakers how to present. And she's a good friend of yours. I know that. And that's how we got connected.
Uh-huh.
And I think the part that we were covering was you may be speaking the same word or a same expression, but it's so different because the way you think about the expression in one language and the same expression in another language is going to be maybe quite different, right? So from that perspective, I think people have some challenges. So what are some of the things you teach your clients about cross-cultural conversations and getting familiar with it?
So one of the big topics are communications, and even in organizations, feedbacks. How to give feedback is different from one culture to other cultures. Some cultures are more direct in their feedback, and some cultures are more indirect. The interesting fact that Americans are very known to be very direct in their communication style, which means it's very direct to the point, task-oriented. But when we talk about feedback, Americans are very indirect. So they never be direct, saying something that is not good, or it will always be an appreciation first to then say something. And I had an experience last week. I was doing a training in our organization, and one of the managers, she's from the Middle East, but she has been here for so many years. And when I was talking about the feedback, she was so surprised. She said, "Oh my goodness, was life change for me," because the feedback that she used to have, that she's so direct when she gives the feedback. And she said, "I never understood this, and now I can understand why people say that I'm so direct." Because she said, "I thought that Americans were direct, but not on the feedback." And she mentioned that in the organization that she works, they used to do so many trainings about feedback, but they never saw this with this perspective. So bringing this cultural awareness, as I say, is fundamental nowadays to work, connect, and engage from people around the world.
Isn't that amazing? Because what you just said is we have cultural awareness to some degree, but then we have different cultures and we don't know what their norms are, and their norms may be quite different. Like in India, quite often you may not shake hands. You may actually say something like namaste or show it like that, and that's a cultural difference.
Exactly.
And a guy, whatever age, doesn't matter, is trying to shake hands with a female in India without knowing the difference, is going to be putting the person on guard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that makes a difference. Another thing is that a lot of people don't know that there are some homes where you won't walk in with your shoes on.
Very
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And whereas in certain cultures, that's the norm, right? So there is going to be a different way. Even when you enter somebody's place, you might be not aware that their cultural norms are different from yours.
Exactly.
And if you are trying to build a bridge, build relationship, have some clarity about the connection, I think it makes it easier for you and I to know that, there might be a little difference in my perception of the situation and their perception as well. And the more you and I learn, or at least be aware of it, now we'll pay attention. Isn't that basically the point always?
Exactly. And you start seeing, I noticed after I started studying the cross-cultural, I was aware of situations that happened in the past, even when I was in Italy. And that's, now I understand why this is different.
Correct.
Yeah, why?
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. So tell me a little bit about who are the ideal clients for you.
So I work a lot with leaders in general, so leaders especially with international responsibilities, people who work with multicultural teams, like we have teams spread around the world, virtual teams, and people that are moving here to United States, or people that are Americans that are moving abroad, or leaders in general that want to improve their leadership skills or being more confident as a leaders. And also, of course, organizations that want to work with
Different.
their leadership and support their leadership on their development.
Fantastic. So how does somebody get hold of you, Andrea?
So they can contact me, of course, on my website. My company name is Destination U Coaching and Development. My email address is andrea@destinationucoaching.com. And of course, I'm on social media, so LinkedIn, Facebook, so you can contact me with all of that.
Great. Can you repeat your website slowly?
Okay, as www.destinationucoaching.com.
Okay, very good. And I think more and more people need to learn. And you got a beautiful smile.
Thank
I love
you.
your attitude. You're a positive person.
Thank you.
And you're out there trying to make things happen just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I know you enjoy what you do. So good luck with your family.
Thank
and
you.
good luck with your business. Thanks again for
You
coming,
too.
Andrea.
Thanks for inviting me.
So thanks for watching. I hope you learned a little bit about cross-cultural communication and leadership development in different organizations as well. So if you are somebody who is hungry to get the message out, you are humble, and you have a helpful attitude, I would love to interview you on the podcast as well. Thanks again for watching. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you, Minesh.